play the first one. This is two videos. Both of them are featuring the White House spokesman John Kirby. The first video you'll see is his response to what's happening in Gaza. The second video you'll see was his response to what's happening in Ukraine. Play the first one.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly, and it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen. And that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it dismissible. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to still express concerns about that and do everything we can to help the Israelis do everything they can to minimize it. But that's unfortunately the nature of conflict.
Now watch his same response. What his response is to someone asking about what was happening in Ukraine back when that first started.
It's hard to look at what he's doing in Ukraine, what his forces are doing in Ukraine, and think that any ethical, moral individual could justify that. It's difficult to look at the It's difficult to look at some of the images and imagine that any well-thinking, serious, mature leader would do that. So I can't talk to his psychology, but I think we can all speak to his depravity.
Wow. The emotion for seeing people in Ukraine, white people.
Matt, can you send that to me, please?
I mean, it is unnerving how blasé he was when asked about the Palestinian people's lives. And then how emotional he got. And I want to make it clear, I think the people in Ukraine and the people in Gaza and the West Bank are being victimized by an oppressor. This is not an attack on Ukrainian people. This is an attack on the U.S. government's position on one thing that flies in the face of their position on another.
Yep.
What Putin is doing in Ukraine, I saw the images. So disgusting. I've seen images of kids without faces come across my feed in Gaza.
That press conference after the hospital, I was like, I had to turn off the internet after that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never going to be able to unsee that.
So
that
bad.
uncensored footage of
Yeah.
them just literally
So
in a
bad.
pile of bodies of kids. I was like, even in horror movies, I don't see this shit, and this is real fucking life.
There's a video that stood out to me of this little girl. She was like 9, and I forgot what the caption was, but she was hugging her little siblings and grappling with the reality that she was their de facto mom now because both of their parents were killed. She was like 9, so she's trying to hold her little siblings.
Yeah.
And it's just...
The video I saw was a little girl too. She was running back in and she said, "That's my mom. I can tell by her hair." And she was sitting down trying to really wrap her mind about what her life was going to look like from that moment on. Like, that's my mom. I know her by her hair. Like, I know that's my mom. That was I can't, those kind of things. I'm not good with it. So when I see videos and stuff, I rather read what it's about. Or read
same
the
here.
article.
Yeah, I can't watch.
I can't watch. I really can't.
I know the brutality. I don't need to have it haunt me in my dreams. It's just
Yeah.
Too late. It's just, But see, these things affect us because we're normal human beings. And we also, we think that Palestinians are human beings. We see humanity and suffering. But these folks, they see Palestinians and they don't feel like they're watching human beings. They've already dehumanized them. And once you've dehumanized someone psychologically, that damage that's done to them, the tears, it just doesn't click with you because you've rejected their humanity. Which is why we see this difference, which is why we'll accept Ukrainian refugees, but not Palestinian refugees, because those are not the same. They're just, one is human and the other is less human, if even human. They've been described by Israeli officials as human animals. So it's like some sort of a subspecies. Like the thorough dehumanization and the way that this is reinforced in propaganda, both explicitly and implicitly. Like this is why things are the way that they are. You know,
it's racist to me. Like,
exactly.
you know, and this is what I made this point when the Haitian president was assassinated, and a lot of the Haitians were trying to come here. Same time, Ukrainians were offered all the help and to come in. Haitians were getting kicked they asses right back.
Whipped. They were getting whipped.
Yeah, they were getting whipped on horses, right?
My own cousin at the border getting whipped. I'm trying to go and figure out how I'm gonna go pick him up. Next day he was gone. Meanwhile, Ukrainians and all them, they were told because their country was not livable, they're in war. Same thing was happening in Haiti, but they were given an opportunity and them Haitians were sent right back.
Yeah.
So
and that was so messed up too, because they were able to send Haitians back without any kind of trial because of Trump's COVID era immigration. I forgot there was a name for it, but Biden,
something 42.
Yeah, it was Title 42.
Yeah,
it was Title 42.
Yeah,
that he campaigned on letting go of. But not only did he not let go of it, he kept implementing Title 42. And Haitians was actually one of the groups where he, used Title 42. And I do want to kind of bring this back really quick to, George Bush, the war on terror, 9/11. We talk about the 9/11 hijackers. None of them were Iraqi. None of them were Afghan. I can't believe that some Americans still don't know this. Like, legitimately, some Americans don't know this. The FBI did a full-on report. They investigated the 9/11 attack, and in the report that they published, they actually heavily implicated Saudi Arabia in those attacks. They directly heavily implicated Saudi Arabia. And so not only are we still buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia to some extent, we invaded Iraq, we invaded Afghanistan. For what? And the way we were able to justify that was through dehumanization. We had Caroline Maloney, I believe is her last name. She went up in front of Congress with a burqa on, a white woman that has no history of being Muslim, having any kind of Muslim family in her heritage or whatever. She went in front of Congress for 20 minutes in a burqa, and she said, we are invading Afghanistan to help liberate the women of Afghanistan. No Middle Eastern woman has ever asked any American to liberate them, but we'll pass by that topic. But the whole entire thing, like the whole invasion, was so entirely racist. It was dehumanizing. 20 years later, not only are the women of Afghanistan not freaking liberated in any shape or form, we used that as a scapegoat. We used the dehumanization of, and I'm not saying Afghanistan was perfect by any means or by any shape. Like, obviously Afghanistan had gone through a civil war. There were a lot of things going on at the time, but
also a lot of empires trying to colonize it over and over and over again.
Right. But there were a lot of things going on, and I'm by no means am I saying it was perfect, but they have been dehumanizing Middle Eastern. Yes, thank you.
That is,
they have been
wild,
dehumanizing us for so freaking long, and that's why we now have to see literal images of children and their heads for us to have any kind of sympathy as a society. When with Ukrainians, you just say, hey, Ukrainians are suffering, and everyone's like, okay, I'm game. Whatever they need, I'm there. But with us, you literally have to we have to convince people, hey, listen, we're getting massacred, we're getting genocided, for people to kind of be like, okay, I kind of see your point. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm done. Sorry.
Well, it's sort of media. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
It's the whole thing too with how many people who believe that there should be a Jew, Israel's right to exist, there must be a Jewish state, Zionism. How many of those same people think there should be no countries that's run under Muslim rule, Sharia law, or anything like that? They're both theocracies. That's the whole. There shouldn't be. That's anti-democratic. There shouldn't be any state that's ruled by rule of religion. Any religion. There shouldn't be a state where the Bible is law, where any religion is the law like that. But the Muslim states, those are bad. Muslim law, that's bad stuff. It's
exactly. It's another
Saudi Arabia based though, apparently, and give them weapons.
Yeah, it depends on how close they are to U.S.
Well, that's just the government.
US.
That's the U.S. government. I would
Yeah.
I would say most people in the U.S. would be very happy to see no more Saudi Arabia not due to good reasons, due to Muslim country.
Well, going back to Ariana's point about the dehumanization, I wanted to bring up the point about the media and how, like, when you see the lack of reaction to the Al Jazeera journalist who lost his entire family, you would think that more of them would be talking about this, just because that's something where they can genuinely like empathize with him with, because it's like, oh, I'm a journalist. Like, imagine if my entire family was wiped out, and likely due to retaliation from this government that I'm reporting on. No evidence of that. I'm just speculating, but it seems pretty suspicious if you ask me. I think there should be a proper investigation done by an independent third party, but you would think that there would be like some way to connect, right? Like there it is. Imagine like retaliation against journalism. We've got to protect the fourth estate. Journalism is necessary for democracy. It's necessary for the public, but you just don't really see anything. You don't see CNN pundits crying for this man's family. Like, the videos are heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh.
You could see the video of him finding out in real time.
He
lost all of his, I couldn't even imagine.
And they went
losing
there
all your family.
to get away and at like a safe area.
Right.
Yeah, they said it was a safe area.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because what people don't realize is that the IDF gave that order 2 weeks ago, actually, because we were on the show when we found out, to evacuate the north. They actually went and they evacuated. They were in central Gaza in a Nusrat camp, where they were told they could take refuge, and they were murdered in an airstrike. So, I mean, it's if you're one of these people who thinks that the numbers are exaggerated, if you're Joe Biden, wouldn't you look at that and think, the optics just don't look good, because they're being bombed where they were told to evacuate? Like, why are there so many airstrikes in the south when Israel told them to get out of the north? Like, it's just shocking to me that, like, this is happening, and our leaders are just like, how dare you criticize Israel? That's anti-Semitic. Like, it's shocking to me. I mean, it's not shocking, but it's just like, it feels like you're in like this diluted reality, like the Twilight Zone or something, where how could you fucking say this?
Yeah.